It doesn't, Charles. And you know, the National Bureau of Economic Research tends to backdate a recession 12 to 18 months after it started. So it's really semantics and economists and their models and validation and seasonally adjusting data and doing everything that economists need to do, whereas the rest of us already know that that's happening. I mentioned earlier that today to somebody that supervisory wages, managers and supervisors, that's up 3.5% year over year, 5 percentage points behind the consumer price index at the headline level, which is that's how we live, Charles. We live at the headline CPI. So people's wages are not keeping up, and layoffs are already filtering through. We're effectively in recession.
You know, recessions, particularly more recently, have been short-lived. I'm really concerned about a lingering inflation. And I was reading this piece, Professor Richard Corin. He's at the University of Michigan. We know the Michigan Sentiment Report. He says of course, that's a highly regarded sentiment piece. He published a piece on inflationary psychology, also noted that the last inflationary age lasted from 1965 to 1982. I mean, how do we avoid that? That's some scary stuff right there.
It's a really good question. I think a lot of it is going to come down to the fortitude of Jay Powell and whether or not he's willing to try and take the speculation out of the housing market. That's every household's biggest budget line item, because right now we're not really in control of food or energy inflation, which are very damaging to household budgets. That being said, we don't need bidding wars anymore. We don't need investors crowding into communities with all cash offers, playing with somebody else's money. We need for housing costs to come down. Right. And that is in the hands of the Federal Reserve. They do have the power to bring that down, Charles.
And we are seeing maybe a few cracks in that veneer. Wild week last week for Treasury Secretary Yellen. It culminated with even more controversy over the weekend. There was a Bloomberg report that suggested she actually went to President Biden and said, hey, let's only go $1.3 trillion on this COVID-19 aid package, thinking that the larger package would trigger inflation. But now she's denied the reports. Your thoughts on all of this?
This is all very strange, Charles. I've never seen anything like this. The Bloomberg report, it cited her biographer, which is presumably somebody who knows something about her, and then her coming out in the media and refuting it. Look, I look back at a Marketplace interview done at the time. She was very much in favor of a larger package and continuing packages coming down the line. I can't get my head around why the leak occurred and whether or not the Biden administration is just looking for cover and people to be the fall guys or the fall gals. I didn't understand it, but I was actually, don't say this very often, Charles, I was impressed that she came out and said, I stick by my original message.
You were impressed by that. Okay.
It shows integrity.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there. And the fact of the matter is she is on the record, right? To your point, she wanted even more. I guess the bigger question then is why, Danielle? I mean, when she was in charge of the Federal Reserve, I didn't do much digging on her. When she got this job, I went back, I looked at some white papers. She was much further left than I thought. But I thought numbers don't lie. When you crunch numbers, no matter what side of the political aisle you're on, you got to know at some point these things are going to backfire. So if your goal is economic tranquility and you're not going to get it, what were they are looking for?
Again, Charles, I think right now we're looking for fall guys, for fall gals. I think what she should have said was, I stand by my original statement. However, I was wrong, because that third massive stimulus package is indeed what set off the level of inflation that we're dealing with. And I think the most responsible thing for her to say at this point is, yes, I stand by my word. I am sorry, America. I was wrong.
Hey, by the way, before I let you go, real quick, what are you seeing now? What are you modeling? 50 basis point hikes for the rest of the year, a couple of months? I mean, what do you see?
I really think that the Federal Reserve wants to try and get that third 50 basis point hike off in that September meeting and get quantitative tightening all the way up to being almost $100 billion a month. I think that that's their goal, and that's why some of the most dovish vice chairs are sticking behind Jay Powell. Let's see if we actually get there, because we've got part-time unemployment increasing, downward revisions to payrolls, more layoffs. We'll see if we get there come September, because the economy is so quickly.